Good day, cricket fans, and welcome back to the IslandStats.com Cricket Show. It's Sunday, which means it's time to dive deep into all the action from the local pitches right here in Bermuda. We'll be dissecting the weekend's clashes, celebrating standout performances, and looking ahead to what's next in the 2025 season. Whether you were at the grounds or following online, we've got all the angles covered. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk cricket. Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Cricket Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me, a co-host, Terry Frey and Andre Doc Manders. Well, gentlemen, just to give everyone an update on the Bermuda game going on in Canada against Canada in the ICC T20 World Cup qualifiers. As we know, yesterday we went down to Cayman Islands and ended our attempts to qualify for the World Cup. But currently, Bermuda were bowled out for 131 in 18.3 overs. And after 10 overs, Canada 85 for 3 in today's final match of the qualifiers. Looking back, again, we've already mentioned the match yesterday where Cayman Islands won by 9 wickets in a 14-over match. The match was reduced due to inclement weather. Bermuda scored 139 for 2, and then Cayman scored 142 for 1. Yesterday at Central Counties at Devonshire Recreation Club won by 121 runs. Rex scored 318 all out and then bowled North Village out for 197. Today, in Premier Division cricket action, Southampton Rangers won by 225 runs over Western Stars. Southampton Rangers scored 309 for 7, and Western Stars scored 84 all out. Somerset Cricket Club won by 6 wickets over Baileys Bay. Baileys Bay were all out for 160, with Somerset replying 161 for 4. In First Division, PHC won by 7 wickets over Devonshire Recreation Club. You score 318 one day, and you get bowled out for 78 the very next day, with PHC replying 82 for 3. Flats Victoria won by 8 wickets over Warwick Workmen's Club. Warwick Workmen were bowled out for 172. And Flats would score 173 for 2 in reply. Let's quickly jump over to the qualifiers. The qualifiers. Doc, talk about yesterday's match. I mean, you know, we had to win that match to stay in contentions, but it just didn't go our way.
It's one of those matches where maybe, I don't know if they were looking ahead to Canada, and sometimes you underestimate the other teams. But Cayman do have a fairly good betting order if you look at the games over the last 5 or 6 games. In fact, the whole tournament, the openers always get runs. The top 3 batsmen are very good. Got one guy from Jamaica, the other guys from Barbados, I think. So you have to give them credit because getting 10 runs and over, and they done it with 5 balls left, even though somebody bowling was very good, but they just couldn't get those 2 batsmen out. And it's it's one of those games where you can't underestimate no teams. It was unfortunate, but it's just back to the drawing board if you think about it.
Yeah. Terry, give me your thoughts. I mean, it would have been a disappointment for everybody.
Yeah, I thought that they were 20. First of all, I thought Bermuda was 25 runs short. The way they were going, I thought that that towards the end, those guys, the batsmen complicated things a little bit because when you look at the ability of those guys hitting the ball straight, it's very, very good. but they started reverting back to these ramp shots, these delicate little glances down through slips, and missing, I would say, at least a dozen balls playing those type of shots, man, when they could have very easily just stayed with the plan, which bought them runs early in the innings by just hitting the ball straight.
Yeah.
You know, so I felt that they missed out there, 20 to 25 runs. And then I felt that the Berlin left a lot to be desired, man.
Yeah.
The only one that really did anything or tried to do something different was Saber.
Yeah. I agree.
I just felt that, even when Derek was Berlin, Derek Berlin, there's 6 balls around the wicket and just floating it, against those guys that are big hitters. To me, I felt that, as a batsman and, betting against something like that, I would have thought that he would have tried something different, even if it meant that he bowled over the wicket, just to change the angle. But he bowled that hole over around the wicket and really just floated it up there. I just felt that's where the game was lost, was that one over, that 30 run over, because at that stage, the pressure was on Caymans.
Right.
I totally agree. That one over, that one bad over.
And I just felt that Derek, as an experienced bowler, he should have tried to do something different.
I've noted that, even this tournament, the tournament before this one, and even in Argentina, our Berlin has saved us many occasions. And for this game here, it just didn't come together. It was bound to. It had to happen at some point where, if you look at when games where our batsmen have really not done well in giving us a good target, the Berlin has come in and even if we haven't built the team up, we've restricted them to under our score and so forth. And it's unfortunate that we get to this particular game and, the Berlin just does not follow the pattern that we've seen for the past 3 tournaments, I
mean, at the end of the day, it was basically like they didn't try to do anything to make something happen.
Right.
I mean, you gotta do something different to make something happen. You know what I mean? And I just thought that didn't happen. The other issue that I saw that they have is these wide balls.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm even watching some of the early part of this innings here today.
Yeah.
The first 2 overs, you got 7 wides.
Yeah.
You cannot compete at that level, and beyond that level if you're not disciplined enough to build good lines and lengths.
Right.
Yeah.
First up, these fast bowlers have got to be ready for that. They got to be able to hit the marks straight up, straight in. As soon as they run in, they should be hitting the marks. Not especially in T20, not 2 overs later when he scores 30 in 2 overs.
I totally agree. You gave too many actions both in that game and even a little, like Terry said, even a little bit in this game right here now.
6 wides.
And you look at Canada's Berlin, they very seldom they're right on the deck from jump. Even most of the Berlin, I don't know if you guys looked yesterday's game, if you would have saw how many wides they built and how many wides that we built, it was like for a game like that was close like that. There it was bad too.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's work to be done.
Yeah.
It's definitely work to be done. All wrong.
Yeah, all wrong.
Okay, so now we get to the point where we start to offer, because I listen to a lot of people who just constantly talk about what is wrong. Okay, we all know what is wrong. We're just not getting over the line. How do we address it? What are these suggestions to get it over the line? Because realistically, we have the talent. It's just putting it all together for it to work. At the same time, you look back at the 2005 team. You know, there was a lot of talk about certain players shouldn't have been in the team, but the team managed to come together using whatever strength each individual player had that got them across the line. So we need to figure out how are we going to get these guys across the line. What do we have to do, Terry? And I'm going to ask you because you know you're working with grassroots. You and Doc are working with grassroots, so you see where you look at the adults and you see where we're falling short individually, and you can help mold that in the youngster to make sure that those things are covered.
Yeah, I would just say again, and I speak this word all the time, is that, you know, I think the Bermuda cricket has lacked the processes. You know what I mean? This is not going to be a quick fix, you know. I just think that, you know, the process has been missed. You know, and with that becomes a mindset issue, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, everybody's got to go back to the drawing board and build this thing up from the bottom to the top. You know, I think that's what has to happen, because it'd be interesting to see what are the processes of how these guys are training. You know what I mean? I haven't been to any of those training sessions.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if it's methodically set up, you know, for each one of the disciplines in the game. You know, be interesting to have a look at that. But I'm confident that we would have to go right back to the bottom and build again. This is how I see that. You know.
Yeah. And I think also that's a good point. Also, we got to start off at the club levels too. Harder training at club levels now too.
Yeah, that's what I mean as well.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, who's coaching these guys, or you know what they're doing at the club level. It starts from there.
Yeah, man.
You know, because we had to start getting right back to the roots. You know, of cricket form. And a good point. Somebody told me this the other day. Won't we start like an under 23 A team, like most teams do, that keep pressure on the senior guys. So when these guys are like out of form or don't want to train, don't want to go, these under 23 guys could come fill the right, because there's a big gap between under 19 and the national team. You know what I mean? Because the under 19 doesn't play enough games to form. This is my personal opinion, for them to make the national team, because they ain't got the experience. Where if you're under 23 team, whereas you know that they're traveling, they could have somewhere where they could go for a training camp, send about 7 or 8 to a training camp somewhere, and keep these guys continue playing with the national team, even training. Yeah, they should be training the national team anyway. But we got to start, and all these players should be like under 23s.
Interesting point.
It's another suggestion. I just think the you know, a few years ago, there was a big announcement. We signed this MOU with St. Kitts and Nevis. We were supposed to be, you know, utilizing. You know, we have this quote unquote agreement with administration wise with the West Indies, with, you know, but only we're at that level. We're failing. It all looks good. It all makes the administrators look good that, oh, we have this sign, we have that sign, we have this agreement, we have that agreement. But if the actual players are not getting the what they need as far as games, you know, fitness and as you said, Terry, the training aspect, all of that type of stuff.
The training
that stuff is lacking or not available, then we need to figure out how we're going to do that to get to that next level. And you know what I find in Bermuda is that when people talk about the lack of what the administrators do, they all get this attitude, like, and they take it personally, instead of just saying, okay, it's criticism. Let's write down what criticism we're getting and let's evaluate ourselves according to what we're doing and according to what people see us doing. You know what I mean? So, and that's where we can actually help each other, because they're never going to allow a forum, you know, to sit down and have everybody talk about what, and then if they've had a forum, out of the forum, what do you get? Absolutely nothing. Because at the end of the season, they're like, okay, we got through another season. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think that we find ourselves in the same position, knocking on the door to qualify, year in and year out, and we always seem to get it wrong, but the players take the brunt of the blame because they're the ones actually out in the front. But how have they been able to prepare? What have they been given to prepare? What are the tools they need? Have they ever talked to the players about the tools they needed? They just got a coach. The coach does what he's able to do with what he's got. We always seem to find a whole pile of money for somebody that don't speak our tongue. But the minute we have local guys who are capable of doing the job, all of a sudden we don't have no funds to do it. We can't do it. We don't have the facilities to do it. And those are the type of things that the administrators have to look at. And I'm not just talking about cricket, I'm talking about a whole lot of sports. Yeah.
And it's interesting though. I was going to bring up that point. It comes down to money too, because you got to remember a lot of these guys got jobs, they work, and it's difficult for these guys to take off time, and the board's not, can't helping them out.
Right.
To send them to a training camp. Like these guys, they got family, and like I say, it's hard for these guys to say, oh, I'll take that off. How am I going to get reimbursed?
Right.
When I go, or what's going to happen? How my jobs, it's a lot of little issues that come up.
Right.
Especially now when the team not doing good, but it's an ongoing problem.
Right.
Even when the team is doing good, sometimes these guys sacrifice a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
For cricket. But right now, it's hard out there. Right there now, you go to the shop now, you get one bag of groceries like $40. Like
yeah. But Doc, my question would be: are they having the conversation with the player? What is it we need? What do you need in order for us to be successful in PBC? You know what I mean? And then you try to come up with a plan, a national plan on how you address it. Because so instead of dealing with players one-on-one, you have to start initially one-on-one. But what you're trying to do is get all the information needed. And then you fill out a form that says, okay, well, we can take care of this area, or we have to take care of this is our responsibility while you do this and that. You know what I mean? It's just and then it's an agreement. It's almost like a second job agreement. I mean, this is what we can offer, and we want our best players, but if it's not to what you standard you need, then we have to figure out another plan. But you got to have something set out for everybody to be, because okay, so let me just draw this reference. So Terry earns his own business, right? Doc, you work for okay, so you work for Digicel. You work for Digicel, right? I say I work for Works in Engineering. But when we all walk on the field, Terry's not earning his own business no more. We're all cricketers. You see what I'm saying? So there has to be a level of where you are respected as a cricketer when you're playing cricket, and then your business side has to be, that has to be taken care of as well. But there's got to be a happy medium, because there's no way we go on the field and Terry's getting paid as his business guy, dropping catches, and I'm getting paid. You understand what I'm saying? We're all wearing these colors when we walk on that field to represent Bermuda, or even to represent your club. You're a cricketer. You know what I mean? While you're betting, you might be thinking, well, in between bowls, you might be thinking about business, but when you get back to pet up and everything, you're thinking cricket. Where's the delivery coming out of this guy's hand? You know what I mean? Those type of things. We just have to have that conversation. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Gotta have that conversation.
Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of moving parts that need to be addressed. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of moving parts. Yeah. Again, it's the off-field stuff that needs to be taken care of. Yes. And then there's obviously a lot of on-field stuff that needs to be addressed. You know what I mean? I'm not just talking about these skill levels and the the procedures that take place of managing a game. I'm
Right.
talking about the whole nine work in
Yeah.
terms
Yep.
of work ethic. The players' discipline.
Yeah.
Yep.
Players' discipline.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Because that's very, very important. Everybody has
Yeah.
a level of discipline to the game.
Mhm.
Even when things don't go their way.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
has to be kept in check, because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it's a team.
Right.
And,
Right.
and there's only one person that's making that decision on the field, and that's the captain. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and off the field, and you got the coaches involved, you got the management
Mhm.
involved.
Mhm.
But at the end, we have to understand that somebody's got to give direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not, it's going to be chaos.
Chaos. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want to touch on that a little bit. You know what I mean? Because
Sure. Sure.
that's
Sure.
an
Sure.
ongoing concern.
I think
Yeah.
we even mentioned it last week where back in the day, the skipper was the coach.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
didn't have no technical guy talking about
Yeah.
A, B, and C.
Yeah.
The guy that
Exactly.
was the skipper done the drills, done all of that, and everybody respected what was going on.
That's right.
You know,
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Yeah. That was definitely years ago.
Mhm. Yeah, but I hope, I'm sure the Bermuda Cricket Board will have a debrief and
Oh yeah.
honest, forthright, debrief,
Postmortem. Yeah. Exactly.
and hopefully they will be able to come up with an action.
Have you guys ever heard of it? I mean, I know Terry, when you was with the under 19s, you used to do it, and Doctor, you was there. But you ever heard of anybody in the senior team doing a debrief?
Yeah. I don't know, but like you said, we done it on the 19s. We always, no matter what, we always try to.
Yeah.
I will say this, Earl. I will say this. When I was manager of the senior national team, when Clay was national coach,
Right.
we had debriefs.
Yeah.
Debriefs. I can only speak on my era.
Right.
On the 19s, and then of course I moved up.
But the very rare nowadays. And that's why we find ourselves in the same problem each and every time, because when they come back, no discussions had about what went right, what went wrong, what was indifferent, or on field, off field, all of that type of stuff. Nothing.
Yeah.
So
I'm not too sure. I'm sure they must have some.
Yeah.
They must have, because now they got the foreign coach Andre Curley, so I'm sure that he's probably taking notes and sending it into the board. So I'm pretty sure they have some type of debriefing or some type of postmortem on that trip.
But what is important? I mean, you could have
something that should have been mandated right from the start. We have to figure out what went wrong, and the only way to figure out what went wrong is if we have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
You can't wait for somebody till you hire somebody to do it, to come in and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can have 100 debriefs, but if you don't have an action plan, address that, all the items that need to be addressed, and every item that has to be addressed should have its own action plan.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the whole idea of a debrief.
Yeah.
You improve on things
moving forward.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's all about action after that.
Right.
That makes sense, doing a debrief and then putting it in the filing cabinet.
Yeah.
Well, just to let everyone know, Canada has won the match by 6 wickets. They scored 132 for 4 in 15.5 overs. So Bermuda finished with a record of 3 wins and 3 losses in the tournament, the same as Cayman Island. We just have to figure out or wait till the run rate to see who finishes second. So that's where we are. Yeah. All right, let's jump into local cricket, because yesterday was the first round of the Central Counties, where Devonshire Recreation Club took on North Village, Evening League team, and came away with a big win, scoring 318 runs. Albeit, and I'll say this, take away the 79 that Kamal scored and the 73 that Ricardo Bregman scored, That is 150 odd runs. They would have scored just about 150 runs themselves for the rest of the team. But just Central County, they've been working hard to try to revive it. It's just not where you used to be, and you never expect things to be always the same. You expect them to improve on it, but from your experience of playing, Doc, what needs to happen for the Western County to improve?
You mean Western or Central?
I mean Central. I'm sorry, Central. Sorry.
Yeah, Central. Central has got to be a lot of work done. It's not like when I used to play. Terry knows he used to play for Devonshire Rec. We played Central Contest back there. You had maybe 4 or 5 good teams. You had Rec, you had Stars, you had Police when the Police came to play, and National Sports Club, and they had all those players down there, the Lewis brothers, and all this they like to play. And Central County should be a big, it should be a big country, man. He used to start off like me, and then he went from Central Counties to Western Counties to Eastern Counties. But Central Counties used to be big back then. I mean, we even had sometimes games were on the radio and stuff. I mean, Jim Ward used to come down and do a few games, but back then, you had so many good players playing, and right now we got to try to revive it. I don't know how they're going to do it. It's too bad now. Stars Field's not ready yet because that was used to play a big part in it because we used to play our games there. We used to alternate. If you look at it now, there's only one field where Central County's playing is Devonshire Rec. So it's not. We're not utilizing the other clubs, and it's not Devonshire Rec's fault. Because the Police don't have no, Police ain't got no team, and so that kind of dropped out. Nationals don't have a team. Before it used to be Social Club there too, but now it's just seems like it's Stars and Devonshire Rec, and they'll be adding the commercial leagues. So I was, to make up the teams, but I don't know. Like I said, that's something what they need to try to revive, and hopefully the Stars fields get ready that we could start, from there, like utilizing that field and utilizing more teams. Hopefully, we could get some more teams in there. Just too bad, like I said, Police don't have no team, and Nationals. It's all right if the commercial league teams coming in, but it's. And back then we didn't have no guest players. We played each team back then. You played with. It was hard making the team.
That's right.
Stubborn to bring a guest player in? No way. Ain't no guest player coming in that team. You see a guest player trying to come in Devonshire Rec's team? No way. And Stars, we got all those young teams, Nationals, but I mean, they're trying to do that to revive it. Maybe that's a good thing. It has to be, but that's another thing the clubs need to come forward and they've been having meetings on it, and it's still not been no. I would say a meeting whereas all the teams that in it come up with a good solution where we could get this Central Counties back to where it used to be.
Yeah. Give me your thoughts, Terry.
Yeah, I'm on board with Doc. If you look at most of the teams, the number of players that they can pick from is rock bottom. You know what I mean? It's just not enough players playing the game within the clubs. Most teams are just scrambling to get 11 players. And that is an indictment on where we are with Bermuda cricket. I will say, and whilst we continue on playing cricket here in Bermuda, that there seems to be a revival of the junior programs in the clubs, and right across the island. That's not a quick fix. That's going to take some time. But we need to nurture that so that, we keep the Bermuda cricket progressive, so that we can have these teams back and have very good players playing in those teams. And from that, you are able to get, better quality players, better quality teams, better quality national teams. So there should be a plan in place, in terms of developing these young players so that, when the time comes, they're ready.
I totally agree, Terry. And you know how we see it from Freystar, like, we still got a lot of work to do with a lot of the youngsters too. Simply because they're not getting that basic training in these schools. What's nice about it now, they're playing cricket in schools now, which is good.
Mhm.
But we still need to get the basics done, so when they come to the academies, a lot of that stuff should be done.
Yeah.
About just reinforcing going over it. And
Yeah.
then again, even reinforce like some of the behavior of some of the youngsters, and I mean, if you look at it, children are going to be children, but you have some serious ones and you have some ones that no matter what we tell them, they're just going to play, and play, and it disrupts.
Right.
It disrupts the whole training program. So that's a lot. That's a lot to, that's a lot for us to try to train these kids too, to make sure they're doing the right things while giving them these drills and skills.
Yeah.
Right. The one thing, okay, so we talk about now getting back into the schools, right? Which is a good thing.
Mhm.
School comes out end of the month. Yes?
Mhm.
We still have 3 months of cricket. If we don't put something in place to occupy these kids in the sport for 3 months, we lose them. So whatever you've done in school, it's gone, because if you don't, like I said, we used to have the cricket clinics in 5 different clubs for 8 of the 10 weeks that they were out for school. We don't offer that at the length anymore. We don't offer that around the island anymore. If it weren't for you guys' organization, we won't have kids at the young ages developing in cricket. How back in the day, you guys would be playing cricket every single day.
Right.
The
Yeah.
opportunity
And
is
that's
there.
why, and that's a good point, Earl, because that's what we recognized at Freystar, that once schools finish, cricket stops for these youngsters basically. Even the cricket board's junior program, that schedule is going to stop, will end very soon.
Yeah.
We recognize that fact. We feel that those that are serious should be able to be engaged in cricket year round.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why why having our summer camp,
Right.
a Monday to Friday day, because we feel that that they should have cricket continue on through the summer.
Yeah.
In a structure,
Yeah. And what's nice about it is it's not only Freystar, Gennaro's got his own coaching thing, and we have and Warwick Workman's got theirs too, with
right.
some of the guys up there. So you got options, like you got Freystar, and then you got the West or Gennaro, and then you got Warwick. So we have to do that to keep the players, like give the parents, if they're interested in cricket, they want to play cricket serious, another option.
Right.
Because
But the reality, Doc, is this: the governing body sits back while individuals take the onus on themselves, and then the governing body says, "Oh well, ICC, we have this going on, and we have that going on, we have this going on," but they are actually not involved in these things, and this is where the argument and the frustration would come. Study governing body that can get funding for you guys to improve your numbers and improve the people. They can do that, but you're actually helping them with them not even raising a finger.
Yeah.
Well, I agree what you're saying, but it's gotta start somewhere. Like
I'm not saying we shouldn't start. What I'm saying is they need to recognize.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I agree. But to wait for him is like no, I'm glad. Like I start with Freystar because we're working on a Lugia, and I'm learning a lot just under him now, coaching with the youngsters. You know what I mean, and trying to help my coaching. At least trying to help the youngsters, and it's hard because we're trying to get cricket back to where it used to be, and we got to start from the grassroots. So that's what we've got to start at. And like you said, the board should be doing more things. And I'm not going to make wrong, because I could have easily went to the board and work with the summer program, but they ain't having one now. If it is, it's a couple of weeks. So Terry called me up, and I'm glad he did. So I'm working with them. I've been working with them since the winter program.
Mhm.
So now the summer starting. What fine tuning a lot of these kids now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we're also starting to work with some clubs. You know,
right.
so that's,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know, that's very good. You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
but yeah, so at the end of the day, you know, we're going to play our part. You know,
Right. Right.
Narrow's going to do his part.
Mhm.
Those guys at work are going to do their part. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
And we're all in it for the same reason, which is to help
Yeah.
develop our young players.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's
Right.
the key. That's the key.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
I
the part.
mean, I fully support you guys in that regard because without you we lose another generation of cricketers because
Right.
it just won't be nothing there for them to do.
Right.
Exactly. But
Exactly.
you do raise a good point. Like you can't, you know what I mean? Can't race for the board because not we're gonna lose them, man. I'm seeing
Right.
some good little cricketers through Free Star. I'm seeing and coach them from Western Stars playing in the league of a lot of
Mhm.
the under sevens right up to I say under 15s, under 16. We have
Right.
some good group of kids, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just gotta, put them on the right path. Make sure it's not all about winning. They gotta lose, and it's
Mhm.
all about making time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just do the right thing.
And work hard. The training ethics. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And our program is structured where they have to do the hard on a training night. They have to do the hard work first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In order for them to pick up a bat and a ball and bat and ball. That's the reward for the hard work that they put in that night.
Right.
Yep.
So they have to do that. If they don't do that, then they don't go in bat and ball.
Right.
Yep. And one thing is on and off the field. Like, we'll be making sure they're doing everything off the field with their parents, helping their parents and stuff. Because, everything we can't, any parents will be giving them everything and they ain't doing the homework or they ain't doing that,
Right.
We always talk to them about that too.
Right. What? Let me ask you guys. You remember the double wicket competitions that we used to have here?
I was a fielder.
I was a fielder too. That's a good one, Turn. I was a fielder too. I was so glad to be a fielder.
I say that to say this. You guys were fielders, anxious to get to the field to field out because the players that were playing you just wanted to be a part. I caught out so and so, or I stopped the ball from so and so.
Exactly. Just to get on that field, mate.
You better believe it.
But those are the type of small things that we need to be doing that is not going to cost us a whole pile of money to do. I mean, eventually, you want to bring in some players to play with, but look at some of the top players in the island that could be playing, and some of the young people that emulate those guys right there. That's just inviting them to get that interest in. Oh, I caught out Gennaro Tucker, or what I mean, or I ran out Dion Stovall, or you know what I mean. Those type of things that I remember back in the day. Been school with Billy Joe Pitcher. Never forget this thing. We was at Whitney. Billy Joe played. I think he was a reserve. Or he just St. Davis was short, and they played Bayless Bay, and he caught out Neil Gibbons. Billy Joe talked about that every single day that he caught Neil Gibbons, and that for him that was it.
Yeah.
But something as simple as that.
Yes.
Kept him so focused in cricket that
Yeah.
I'm so entertaining tonight. I'm good.
It only takes a moment,
Yeah.
It only takes a moment to inspire a youngster, mate.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
that is right. So right.
We have to continue on targeting that,
That's right.
Inspire our young people by good examples and doing something that's out of the ordinary that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
That's important that we continue inspiring them, man. Because we got a lot of young good cricketers around this island.
I say we do.
You do. Yeah.
But the important thing is good coaching.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Especially from the young age to get them doing the right footwork, the right approach, the right, all of those basics. That we worked out on our own in the backyard, playing to go on and stuff, and You learn soft hands. You learn how to play through the V. You learn how to just to get to the other end. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to hit.
It's amazing. Because on Friday we were coaching, and Buck and Cooley Durham had the session, and I sat on the side to observe that whole session, and it was amazing the amount of information that Doc and Cooley was giving these youngsters, man, and they were executing. Am I right, Doc?
Yeah,
they were executing this stuff, man. And it was all indoor stuff. It was all indoor.
Right.
But it was, they're like sponges. They're like sponges, man.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that if we got momentum with them, then you got to continue on with that. Everybody has to play a part in that. Everybody.
Yeah. Let's jump to matches today. Doc, we're gonna start with this match because obviously you would have seen it. Rangers and Western Stars. Nakori Smith, he scored 92 not out last week
and got 100
and scores 106.
Yeah.
What did you see in this young man?
Well, I watched a little bit of it. I was running around checking a few other games, but he well, from what I saw last week of him, was more. His coming to his end this year. It's an opening bet. He starts off slowly, but then eventually you see, he main thing. He reminds me of Terran Free a lot. He grabs, and when you look, he's got 20, 30. And then when you look, this ball's going outside. And it's a good young boy to talk to, and he listens. So it's good to see him getting runs, man. He scored 90 last week and then scored 100 this week. It goes to show you that he's doing something right. And it opened in bet. So the ball's swinging around, and he just applies himself. He's watching his swing. It's hitting, putting away the bay up ball. I think he gave maybe one chance, or maybe one or two, but that's not his fault. But it was a hard chance. So, kudos to him, man. It's looking pretty good. In fact, the whole Rangers team, it's got DeAndre that was betting with him today. Betting with him too. Yeah, so he talks to him a lot. So, it's good when you have a senior batsman with a younger guy that's coaching him along and telling him what not to do. And running to the wicket and stuff was good. So, it's really looking pretty good. With Rangers team, too. We've got a pretty good young team there.
Yeah.
Herbie's got him. Herbie's got good guy. Yeah, Herbie's got him pretty well. Again, on run day, a lot of senior players are on him, and he's opening up. So that's good for him, man.
Right. Brian Hall took 6 for 44 for 10 with 1 mid, but then Western Stars went to bet. This is after giving up 309. They went to bet and were all out for 84 in 20 overs. Obviously didn't get to start. You're looking for Ryan out for 4, Jamori out for 7. Jaden hung around with 32, but just everybody was just falling around him. Ethan 3, Doc, Brian Hall 12, Stiana Doc, Seth Campbell 10, Sebastian Davis 6, and Cody Hines without scoring. So that's. If somebody's not going to stay with somebody, as you guys often talk about the partnerships, find yourself out.
Yeah, you need partnerships, and we always stress that in the game plan. But that's what I tell you. Like, man, everything was going all right. They had partnerships, now we ain't getting them.
Right.
And you've been seeing guys running themselves out, man. Last week the same thing, they was getting run out against PHC, and this week the same thing, they had a run out in between there. And our senior batsman is like, come on, like. It's about when you're out of form and you're trying to get runs. So you're running yourself out trying to get runs. No, man, you gotta remember. I keep saying this is 50 overs, it's not 20-20.
Right.
Stay there and bet. Rangers started off fairly slowly, and when you look how much runs they got.
Right.
They had partnership and they had a lot of wickets in hand.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. 50 overs now. They got to remember playing 50 overs. Stay there and bet.
Yeah.
But you see, in the partnerships, running between the wicket is very, very important.
Exactly.
And it'd be interesting to see how much drills and training they do at the clubs in the evening time about running between the wicket. Yes, no, wait. You know what I mean? And being able to do those drills and run and execute the running between the wickets properly. Judging or run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of run-outs, even the senior national team.
The senior national team.
It's
Yeah, you saw it again today. So it's and these guys, but the senior national, a lot of these guys in play together, but still, it's like not being focused when you're running too. Like I don't know, man. Sometimes you got that lackadaisical thing where they're not gonna hit the wicket, or they're not gonna, And then you look, these guys are doing it. So we gotta get out of that mindset that when you're running between the wickets, anything could happen. Direct throw. We got to run out. Kept one of the Canadian guys run out. I was watching it, and we got to run out. So, and that happens in games. You got to make sure, calling is important, and that's what we stress at the youth level now. Like calling, yes, no. And,
we do those drills continuously, Earl.
Exactly.
Over and over and over.
I was going to ask you how. Back in you guys' day, you would hear guys shout out, yes, no, wait.
Yes, we always done that.
You don't even hear that. You heard hold on, and then hold on.
It's exactly. It's hold on, run, and stuff like
that. We don't coach that.
No, man.
It's confusion.
Yeah, it's whole part of confusion, man. It's like, and some of it, and you look at it, some of our main batsmen are getting run out because of those situations. So we got to be mindful.
Because they get in that bad habit in our league cricket.
But that's what
international
level. What we're saying is the bad habits.
It's the bad habits. Exactly. Bad habits. You get away from on league cricket, like, it's not going to throw it at the stump, or if he does, it's going to miss. And then when you get an international, it happens. Or sometimes guys are hitting the stumps, and you're like, oh man. And first thing you're like, you probably blame the umpire, you was there or there. And when you look at the replay, you're nowhere close. Yeah. So we have to start doing those little basic stuff. It might just seem like it's little minor things, but in 20 and 50 over cricket, it's big when you get your best batsman or your batsman's run out because they are calling or not calling at all.
Right.
One of the things that I always tell my youngsters, right? There's a lot of things in cricket that you don't control or can't control, right? But one of them is running between the wickets.
Yeah.
You have total control of running between the wickets. Proper communication is, and I tell them that all the time. You have control of running between the wickets. The other team doesn't. You make the proper call and then you execute that call.
Right.
Exactly. And trusting your partner's calling.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, you say that in international cricket a lot too, but you see a lot of good running between the wicket too. It's like, geez, these guys are in too, and making it look easy.
All of that part of the game.
Yeah, as soon as they misfield, these guys are going. That's because it's coming. They do it repetition, training. They do it. As soon as they misfield, these guys are going. That's why we start to go into all our batsmen. Like, as soon as you misfield, the other guy's got to be, because if one guy is not doing it, one guy's not paying attention, that's where you got to run out.
Yeah.
Both got to be on the same page.
When David Hunt first came into the squad, you saw the difference in he would push the ball into certain areas and often run his game, and the non-striker will lean on his back because he's not used to that.
I saw David not got you a run out. Not his fault. He has mixed up a lot of run outs when he first played for Bermuda, and that was only because the non-striker or the striker wasn't paying attention. David is professionally. These guys are used to hitting the gaps and going. There's no hesitation.
Got to take advantage of these singles, and he has always where other guys were just standing there watching the ball, and he's standing next to him by that time, and like, oh man, and he was always distinct in his calling, and stuff like
Be cool. But you know the most important thing about all that is we talk about partnerships, right?
Yes, yes.
Running between the wickets create
Uh-huh.
partnerships.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
that's what
That's
creates partnership.
that's what if you got a good guys to run, and I'm seeing that in
Mhm.
some of the games, international games running between the wickets of these guys, that partnership's been working because of the running between the wickets. That's what
Right.
Terry
That's
said.
right.
Mhm.
And
Rotate.
that
That's right.
that game today with Rangers and Stars, it running between the wicket with Dion and the guy LaCroix Smith caused a lot of
Uh,
problems.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
hesitation, just going.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other Premier Division game took place up at Somerset, where Somerset defeated Bayless Bay by 6 wickets. Bayless Bay batted first, all out for 160. In their batting, they had the likes of their top scorer was Stephen Otterbridge with 25. Irvin Romain played. He
Yeah, they were
batted
short.
again. They were short. Again, not a good start. Zende betting 3, he scored 21. Brendan Trott betting 4, he scored 21. Shirai was out for 8. You know, it just nobody really hung around long enough to build a big total. And you look at the likes of Somerset had Gennaro playing 7 overs, 1 made, and 3 for 13. Taylor Smith 5.5 overs, 3 for 24. You know, so Somerset always kept the pressure on. Um, the one thing they only they gave up 16 wides. The big culprit there was Antonio Darrow. He blew 5 wides, 1 no ball. Jade Morrissey 6 wides. But keeping those dot balls to what they need them to be was what Somerset concentrated on. Because if you turn and look at the Bailey's the Somerset inning, uh, Bailey's Bay only gave up what was it, 13 wide, but it was the dot balls that they couldn't. Somerset were getting singles here and there or doubles and boundaries. Because if you look at it, Carl Hutzelbill 6 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 34, but he had 21 dot balls. So if you look at it, he's built three of those overs out of these 6 went without no runs scored off of it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So they were able to take them to 28 overs. Took Somerset 28 overs to get to the total. But you know, everybody's just got to work on the small things, man. Got to
Most
work on
definitely.
these small things. Yeah, yeah,
Agree.
yeah. Let's
I
quickly
see.
jump. Good.
Yeah. Rack. I see Rack PACB Rack.
Yeah, I was gonna jump to that game right away. Devonshire Rack and PHC low scoring a game. Devonshire Rack only scored 78. They only had 1 player in double, 3 players in double figures. Druande opened, scored 11. Rudal Pitcher came in at number 10. He scored 14. And Aaron Holder came in number 11. Orlando came in at number 9. He scored 12. So, you know, look at that and you're seeing, man, you in between there were LBWs. So guys, obviously the foot movement wasn't there, or as they would say, the umpire had a trigger finger. You know, putting up the finger for LBWs. They had 1, 2, 3, 4 LBWs in the inning.
Mhm.
You know, you look at Deontay Derlin, 7 overs, 2 maidens, 5 wickets for 23 runs for PHC. And then PHC replied with 82 for 3. They had Devin Dill scoring 33 not out. Charles Trott, a quick fire 20 off of 18 balls, 1 4, 2 sixes. You know, so PHC done the business today, getting rid of Devonshire Rack. And then the final first division game, Flats Victoria. We talked about Flats last week, right?
Mhm.
Not scoring runs. They shut me up this week.
Yeah.
They built Wardell for 172. Flats scored 173 for 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
They must have been listening to us.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
exactly. Exactly. Somebody listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. I said, "Oh,
And
Lord."
we talking about partnerships, and they had some good partnerships.
Yeah, yeah, right
Yeah,
from the start. They
right
were
from the
chasing
start. Yeah,
the one, but even Warwick got off to a good start. Stephen Dill and Callum McFarlane,
yeah,
they started off. They scored 78 over the first 14 overs, but you're playing 50 overs, so it's no real rush. You got
Right, exactly.
overs to go, sort of thing. But from there, everything went downhill because the next person in double figures was Kamal on 18, and then Corey Burgess scored 29, but they were
Yeah.
already, the wickets were just falling on a regular basis. And unfortunately, they could only manage the 172. You had Keegan Jones, 10 overs, 5 for 31. Xavier James, 4 overs, 2 for 32. Paul Harvey, 1.2 overs, 2 for 1 run. And then we talked about the partnership in the reply. Dejon Carey and Reginald Baker opened the inning. They scored 143 for the first wicket partnership in 24.5 overs. So that was the solid start they needed.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah. So, and you look at it. Okay, so Reginald faced 88 balls, 3 fours, 1 6. Carey faced 75 balls, 11 fours, and 1 6. So you just take your time and there you go. In 30 overs, they caused the score. They had 20 overs still to bat. And you look at that and you say, no, we'll say Bork gave up 52 extras.
That's not helping you, Gord.
Yeah, Stephen Dill gave up 21 wides and 1 no ball. So, those would be boundary balls, but you're still giving up that many wides when you start to talk. It really hurts you. He built 5 overs, 34 runs given up, 21 dot ball. Do that math. They scored 34 runs off of 1 over and some change.
Right. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. When people sit, when you as a bowler, if you sit down and you analyze that, you have to say, I have to be a lot better.
Yeah.
I have to be. Yeah.
It's definitely.
I can't let the balls that the scoring off me be far greater than the balls that I'm getting dots from.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel that everybody has to take ownership of these weaknesses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That starts right from training, like in those training sessions after work or whatever, or whenever you're doing your training. You got to take ownership of those training sessions, and see how you're training and whether or not it's purposeful,
Right.
Instead of just turning up, going through the emotions,
Yeah.
But anyhow, it's a lot of work done.
Who's your most valuable? Who's your player this week? Because I've got mine already.
Okay, so let me give you the options. Let me give you options. I know you. Okay, so option 1 would be Kamal Lavrock playing for Devonshire, 79 runs and then 5 for 30 in the bowling department. Also, you have Nakori scoring a century, Dion Stubble 86 and 2 wickets. You had the likes of Dejon Carey scoring 64, helping Flats win. For Somerset, Amari Evans scored 74, opening up. You had Keegan Jones with the 5 wickets. So, Doc,
the boy from PHC. The boy from PHC got 5 wickets too.
Deontay Durlin, 5 wickets as well. Yes,
but I'm leaning towards Nakroy Smith because that century. He got 90 last week and 100 this week. I know Kamal, even though we got 5 wickets and 70, they have central contests, but sometimes it's who you're playing against, and I think this boy is putting in the work like that 100. I mean, it's got to do my world of good now, especially getting 90 last week, then come back to make 100.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's who I'm leaning for in LaCroix.
Okay. I'm with you on that.
Yep. Me too.
Terry?
I'm with him on that.
Okay.
Is that the first 100 in the 50 over competition?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's first 100 too.
Congratulations to him.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Premier
Yeah.
Division or First Division.
Yeah.
It's still those are the two teams that are actually playing in the 2020 finals. So
Right.
so you got to give him kudos too. I mean, like, and that's the first entry. That's why I was leaning towards him.
Yeah. I'm happy for that. Corey Smith,
Yeah.
congratulations. Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
Well, fellas,
All right.
back to the drawing board for Bermuda. Hopefully we can put our heads together with, all interested parties are allowed to put their heads together and, with some input from players, both former, present, and future. And we come up with a way to move forward as a country and we can actually get over these hurdles. So
Yes, sir.
it's going to take some work. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have to be willing. We have to be willing to do the hard work.
That's right.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So enjoy the rest of your night, fellas.
You too.
And you too, you guys.
Yep. Thanks, you guys. Have a great week.
All right.
Have a great week. Cool.
Cool.
Hold on.